Well, hello. A little bit more droning today. I promise I will get back to doing some landscape photography again in the near future, but this is my life right now. So yeah, back in, well, I'm back up Metheringham to do a bit more time on the drone. Just doing some updates before I can take off. But back in one of my earlier videos, when I started doing these videos again, I said I'll take you through some of the training I'm doing, which I realised the other day I haven't actually done, even though I am progressing quite nicely with it. So I thought I'd just take you through the different steps of qualifications you can do in the UK, I must add, and let you know what I'm doing and how far I've got going through it whilst I'm just getting some more time in the air. So the lowest level of qualifications you need when you buy a drone in the UK is called the DMARES, or DMARES. So it's the Drone and Model Aircraft Registration and Education Scheme. And effectively, if you go out and buy a drone, if you want to fly it legally in the UK, that's what you've got to do. Cool, that's updated. And basically it's just an online test, and I think it's about £9 to get you both an operator ID as the owner of the drone and a flyer ID, which then identifies you as the pilot. So let's just set the home location on the drone. It is also telling me that I need to do a compass calibration. So let's do that now, and you can watch me do the DJI dance. So calibrate, right, calibrate compass. And it's important when you do this to move around the drone, not move around you. Okay, so it does that way, and now I'll go around again. And this just calibrates the compass. Compass calibration complete, cool, right. So once you've done the DMARES thing, you get an operator ID, which has to be stuck to the aircraft, which you might notice a sticker on the side of my Mavic 2, and you have a flyer ID to identify you as a pilot. And that's you good to go as long as you want to fly far from people, over 150 meters plus, which obviously is quite a distance. Right, let's let me just go through this takeoff. So here we go. Just move it out of my way slightly so I don't chop myself to pieces. Right, so just doing a quick control check. Up and down is fine. Hovering nicely, let's do a spin to the left and to the right. And then crab left, crab right. Yeah, happy days. Forward and right. So I think it's important to understand the three categories the CAA have now put in place for drone operations. So you've got the open, the specific and the certified. So you do your DMARES, that puts you firmly into the open category, and that open category is then split three ways into subcategories called A1, 2 and 3. So if you buy any drone, you do your DMARES, it's good, you've got your operator ID, you're good to go, but you can only fly in what's called the A3 subcategory, which puts you far from people. So that's far from people means 150 meters away, and that's far from infrastructure, crowded areas and all the rest of it. So great for out in the countryside like I am now, but if you want to be anything closer, so I've had to come, when I was flying here previously, I'd had to come quite a long way away from the roads and the like to make sure I'm far from people. So that gets you, you know, if you're going to do hobbyist stuff, if you're doing out in the landscape, you know, you want to do some mountain climbing and show yourself looking cool on mountains and trails and stuff, then absolutely that's probably you done. If, however, you want to fly closer to people and therefore introduce a little bit more risk to your flying, you need to do what is called the A2 CofC. And I've mentioned this before. Oh, policeman over there. Hello, policeman. Let me, obviously not interested in me, good. You need to do the A2 CofC, which is the A2 Certificate of Competency. So that, as the name implies, moves you up to the A2 category, which then lets you move to within, or to 50 meters and above away from people and things, which is what I did the other week. So that costs, with the provider I used, costs about £50 think it's £49 for the online training and then the exam itself. And the people I use, the training is done via an online invigilator, which is quite easy to do. So yeah, a few hours of training, understanding things like the weather, how aircraft fly, different airspace, effectively just what you're allowed to do effectively. Yeah, and like I said, I did that exam a couple of weeks ago now. It's a 30 question exam and you need to get 75%. I got 97%, so I'm a little bit annoyed I got one question wrong. So I wouldn't say it's particularly difficult. I mean, it clearly needs some study so you know what the answers are going to be, but it was easy enough. And then you get a new certificate from the CAA, which I'll show up now, which gives you your A2 CofC, which is great. And again, a lot of people, that's probably enough. So I'm just practicing my circles now for a reason I'll tell you about in a second. So yeah, A2 CofC will get you within 50 metres of people, of uninvolved people. So if you're with other people who know what you're doing, you can bring them closer. But if they're uninvolved people, then they have to be 50 metres or more, which is obviously a lot closer than 30 metres away. The next one above that, so that's your... So sorry, I should mention the A1 as well, didn't I? I didn't actually mention that. So A1 is incredibly close to people, and the only way you can do that is if you have a drone that weighs 250 grams or less. So a very lightweight drone, something like Mavic Mini or the Mini 2, which have been specifically designed to come in at 249 grams to be under that limit. And that lets you get really close to people, but still no overflight of uninvolved people. Okay, so that's A1, 2 and 3 sorted. So if you want to move up next to the certified category, which again, you're talking just a little bit more risk involved. That's, you need to do what's called the General Visual Line of Sight Certificate, which is the phase of training I'm actually right in the middle of now, hence me doing a little bit of training here. So that is a little bit more complicated than the A2 CofC because it's, the idea is that it then qualifies you to take greater risk with your operations, be that closer to people or in areas which are of higher risk. So there is actually 3 parts to it, one of which is another exam, this time 40 questions rather than 30 questions. And if I'm honest, they cover many of the very same topics. There's not a lot of difference in the questions, just more of them. And I did that last week. So 40 questions, I got 95%. Again, it's a 75% mark pass rate or pass level. So I got 2 questions wrong, which is very annoying, but I think I know which ones they were. So unfortunately on both exams, they don't actually come back and tell you which questions you got wrong, which would actually be a really useful training aid if you knew which ones you were incorrect with. But never mind. The other part of it is you have to put together what is called an operations manual, also known as a safety case, and that is effectively a document that explains to the CAA how you're going to operate this drone. And it's very much for commercial purposes, it very much takes the point of view that you're a company wanting to operate in a commercial manner, which I'm going to do for my photography business, doing for weddings and events and the like, add something a little bit extra. So I've started to complete that. So I've pretty much done that now. I've put it into review with my training organisation, and they provide you with a template of a 95% solution, which you sort of fill in the blanks, kind of. But you've got to take some thoughts about how you're going to operate, where you're going to operate, what kind of customer you're going to be with. Also, what drone do you fly? So I had to specify that my Mavic 2 Pro was my drone, put in my flyer ID and operator ID, and so put that into for review. And once that is passed, I hope to get some good feedback this week and then update it, as necessary, because there are things that I think I've got right, but I'm not the expert yet. So I'm sure that they will come through and say, oh, you need to change this, change that. And there are some things that I know that I left specifically vague, so I didn't actually go too in depth straight away, and just wanted them to highlight whether I was getting that particular aspect correct or not. The final part then is a practical flight assessment, and I am doing that next week. So today is Friday the it's not the date, it's Friday the 11th of June, and I'm doing that flight assessment on Thursday, so the 17th, and that is a place down near Rugby called the Dunchurch Hotel. It looks like they've got some nice grounds there. I don't know whether I'll be able to film that or not. I'll probably film my journey down and go through what I'm doing on the day, but whether or not I can film the actual event or not, I probably won't. And the idea is that is a simulated job. So you turn up, see the client who is actually the assessor, and you take them through your checklists, your safety briefing, what the tasks are, and just it is and then you fly, you know, some patterns. Whilst it is an indication of your ability to fly safely, and that's, you know, it's also an ability to demonstrate that you understand the risks involved of operating the drone, that you understand that you are you know, identifying what the risks are in terms of people, of the weather, and that you've got the right kit. So I'm going to have to take things along like a fire extinguisher in case the battery catches fire in that unlikely event. Equally, I'd need to take along first aid kit, some cones to mark out my area, just so you can be very clear about marking out danger areas, and then taking through the brief. It takes about 40 minutes, so it's definitely going to use 2 batteries at least. Excuse me. So I will need to fly one set of activities, then come back and land, replace the battery, and go through a whole full pre-flight and take off again. Which should be fine. You know, it's nothing that I haven't already kind of explained to you in previous videos, and I do apologise if the wind is a little bit blowy today. So what I'm doing today out at Metheringham is just practising for that flight aspect, and some of the things to fly is like a figure of 8, which is quite tricky. So let me actually, if I just bring this around a little bit, you might be able to see the drone over there, up and down. So some of what we've got to do is a fairly standard. You've got to fly it to the right, do a little top hat, so up and across and down again, all in nice smooth motion. Don't want full, no, I don't want huge, you know, if I put it in sport mode, you know, don't be flying 40 miles an hour and the like. It's really not what he's after. So just nice and gentle manoeuvres, because after all, if I'm filming, I want to be nice and smooth anyway. So one of the more difficult ones is a figure of 8, which I need to practice today, so I'll probably stop filming soon and stop boring you with my waffling. Right, I think that'll do from me for now. Back in a minute.